Excellency, distinguished panelists and delegates from Africa and India, it's my honor and privilege to welcome you all to Export-Import Bank of India's webinar on assessment of project implementation by Indian companies in West Africa. Namaste, bonjour, good morning, good afternoon, akwaba to all. My name is Pushpesh Tyagi. I am the resident representative at Export-Import Bank of India, Abidjan. I will be the session moderator for today's webinar. I would like to inform our distinguished panelists and participants. Presently, we have touched 150 delegates and participants logged in from Africa and India. It's our privilege to also have with us Excellency diplomats of West African countries in India. More particularly, I would like to welcome His Excellency Mr. Henry, Cote d'Ivoire Ambassador to India. I would also like to welcome Excellency Indian diplomats from various Indian missions in West Africa. A very warm welcome to you all. Before I begin today's session, I would like to make a housekeeping announcement. Participant may post your question in Q&A section along with your name and background. Excellencies, distinguished panelists and delegates, major part of the today's 11 West African countries, what we see today, were traditionally known by Guinea region, a region of the African coast of West Africa, which lies along the Gulf of Guinea. Guinea, is a Portuguese term emerged in the mid-15th century. Region was further subdivided as per trade activities carried out at different items during several centuries ago. And if I start from the east, Nigeria, biggest economy of Africa, then we move towards west, we see the Benin, we see Togo, we see Ghana, Gold Coast, we are in Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, then we Liberia, Sierra Leone, Guinea Conakry, Guinea Bissau, we have Senegal, we have the Gambia. Other than these 11 countries which touch the Gulf of Guinea, there are 3 landlocked countries, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger. Niger has the largest area in West Africa. And from this largest area, if I move to the smallest country in West Africa, that is Cabo Verde. Cabo Verde is a combination of 10 volcanic islands. And if you really want to enjoy the kite surfing, Sail Island is a perfect place for you with beautiful wave, wind, and beaches. These 15 West African states, which emerged from different colonial experience and administration, came together by Treaty of Lagos in 1975 and established Economic Community of West African States for promoting economic integration. Honorable Excellencies, distinguished panelists and delegates, West Africa, which account for 27% of Africa's GDP, 30% of its population and 20% of Africa's land area, is one of the focus regions for India. Today, India has emerged to be the second largest trading partner to West Africa, amounting to 10.7% of Africa's total trade. Bilateral trade between India and West Africa increased from $15.2 billion in 2010 to $24.2 billion in 2019. As regards to FDI outflow, India's investment in the West Africa region have been reached to 215.80 million on a cumulative period from April 2010 to March 2020. In fact, within Africa, West African economies have shown significant improvement in their doing business ranking in 2020 vis-a-vis 2019. Togo improved to 97 from 137, Senegal 123rd to 141st, Nigeria 131 to 146, Cote d'Ivoire, Niger. So these are a strong foundation on the India and West Africa relation have been built. The spread of COVID-19 pandemic has raised uncertainties to the way forward in fostering these relations, as economies are more focused to domestically tackling the issue arising from it. In these extreme times, enhancing regional integration and regional value chain is critical. In this regard, Government of India under Indian Development Economic Assistance Scheme ideas has already set in place concessional lines of credit route through Export-Import Bank of India. Export-Import Bank of India has also extended various credit under National Export Insurance Account in this region. Exim Bank has also supporting Indian companies in their overseas joint venture and wholly owned subsidiaries. Indian projects implemented in West Africa, particularly in infrastructure, serve as a means to this end by facilitating sharing of resource within the region while providing newer opportunities. Export-Import Bank of India, being a policy arm of the Government of India, has always been instrumental in organizing and partnering deliberation with experts over strategic issue related to Africa. Effective project implementation, the today's topic, is far more critical in COVID-19 times, where resources are limited and must be used in an optimal manner. This webinar aims at drawing a roadmap to recovery for West Africa based on an assessment of projects implemented in this West African region. In our distinguished panel of speakers for today's webinar, we have with His Excellency Mr. Sailas Thangal, Ambassador of India to Cote d'Ivoire, concurrently accredited to Liberia. He is now from Abidjan. Welcome, sir, and thank you so much for the support and guidance you provided in organizing this seminar. Thank you for being here, sir. As we all know, Ecowas Bank for Investment and Development is a regional financial institution owned by 15 Ecowas member states. We have with us Dr. George A. Donkor, President, Ecowas Bank for Investment and Development from head office Lomé, Togo. Dr. Donkor, thank you so much for being here. From Togo, let's come back to Cote d'Ivoire and welcome our two distinguished panelists, Dr. Pango and Mr. Parthiban Theodore. Dr. Pango is a managing director of Mahatma Gandhi IT and Biotechnology Park, a free zone in Cote d'Ivoire. This IT park is also known as Village of Information Technology and Biotechnology. We have Mr. Parthiban Theodore, a senior vice president and country head for Olam International, Cote d'Ivoire and Senegal, based in Abidjan. These two panelists will provide insight on public projects and private projects respectively. Now from Cote d'Ivoire, now we move to Mumbai, India, and welcome Mr. Mukul Manish, Regional Manager, North and West Africa, Tata Motors Limited. Mr. Manish will share his experience of project execution in West Africa. And now let me welcome Ms. Harsha Bangari, Deputy Managing Director, Export-Import Bank of India. Mr. Bangari has logged in from Exim Bank's head office in Mumbai. Now, without much ado, I would like to invite first speaker of today's webinar. May I request Deputy Managing Director, Export-Import Bank of India, Ms. Harsha Bangari, to take the floor for overview on Exim Bank's past initiative and future prospects in India. Ms. Bangari is a seasoned finance professional with experience of more than 25 years in the financial sector and has thorough knowledge of the bank's process, business policies across functions covering all products of the bank, including cross-border project financing, as well as risk management, client servicing, liability side management, including treasury function and foreign currency resource. Her areas of interest include international debt capital market and international project finance. And I take this opportunity to tell you that I'm fortunate enough to be part of Exim Bank team, which were led by Deputy Managing Director and visited several projects in this part of the world, Ghana, Senegal, Mauritania. Thank you so much, ma'am. You have the floor, please.
Thank you, Pushpesh. Honorable Excellency, dignitaries on the panel and distinguished guests. It is my honor and privilege to welcome you all to the India Exim webinar on assessment of project implementation by Indian companies in West Africa. Now, currently the background is very bleak, I think, across the world, and COVID-19 continues to be on the front of our mind. As we are all aware, the world is likely to experience its worst recession since the Great Depression, and there would be a contraction in global economy, as well as most of the countries also will contract their growth. As regards Africa, specifically coming to Africa, despite its late arrival, the COVID-19 virus has spread rapidly across Africa, and the AFDB estimates a GDP contraction of around 3.4% as the pandemic continues beyond the first half of 2020. Now, this could be a very significant fall given that there was a growth of 3.4% in 2019. This contraction also reflects macroeconomic risks arising from the sharp decline in output growth among the continent's key trading partners, the fall in commodity prices, reduced tourism activity in several countries, as well as the effects of measures to contain the COVID-19 global pandemic. As on July 17, 2020, Africa had 0.7 million registered COVID-19 cases, and this is expected to grow going forward. West Africa, of course, has its share of COVID-19 cases at around 16%. The most affected economies are therefore those with poor healthcare systems, those that heavily rely on tourism, international trade, and commodity exports, and those with high debt burdens and high dependence on volatile international capital flows. The financial resources needed for Africa's structural transformation, including meeting the deficits in energy and infrastructure, are enormous. According to the Global Investment Hub, Africa has an infrastructure investment gap of $1.7 trillion, mainly in energy, telecommunications, transport, and water and sanitation. Meeting these investment gaps is of immense importance to boost Africa's growth and achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Coming to Exim Bank and its partnership with West Africa. West Africa continues to be a focus region for Exim Bank in the African continent. Exim Bank's office in Abidjan plays a critical role in facilitating Exim Bank and Government of India's endeavors in promoting and supporting two-way trade and investments. With a commitment of $12.7 billion, African countries account for over 41% of operational lines of credit as of June 30th, 2020. In West Africa, as India supported operative LOCs valued at around $3.6 billion, covering 15 countries in the region. LOCs also contribute in boosting Indian exports of goods and services to untapped markets and successfully showcase India's expertise in project planning, design, and implementation in diverse areas of socio-economic development, such as power, irrigation, agriculture, transport, etc. Under the Buyer's Credit NEIA program, Exim Bank facilitates project exports from India by way of extending credit facility to overseas sovereign governments and government-owned entities for import of goods and services from India on deferred credit basis. Exim Bank India has till date approved over $1 billion under BC NEIA, covering 8 projects in 3 countries, that's Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, and Senegal in the West African region. The African Union's Agenda 2063 is a manifestation of how the continent intends to achieve its vision in the next 50 years through emerging development and investment opportunities in areas such as agribusiness, infrastructure development, health and education, ICT, as well as value addition in African commodities. Coming to specific sectors where Exim Bank has played a lead role or supporting specific countries, in agriculture and agro-processing, the role of modern agriculture for increased productivity is highlighted in the Agenda 2063 and UN SDGs through food security, improving nutrition, and promoting sustainable agriculture. In this regard, projects executed by Indian companies under the Government of India supported LOCs in West African countries have facilitated farm mechanization and modernization of agriculture and also value addition to the primary commodities produced in the region. We have some of these examples and we would like to present it by way of a PowerPoint presentation. Starting with tractor assembly plant in Benin, where the Government of India supported a credit of $15 million to the Government of Benin for financing tractor assembly plant and farm equipment manufacturing unit. Tractors and other agricultural equipment and accessories were supplied, along with the installation and commissioning of tractors assembly plant with capacity of 2,000 tractors per year. This significantly facilitated Benin's farm mechanization efforts. Another example is the irrigation system in Senegal. Under the license of $27 million extended to the government of Senegal for financing irrigation system project, the coverage under irrigation has increased considerably, due to which the rice production in the region has improved. The irrigation project has not only reduced the import bill of food products, but also generated employment. Coming to the infrastructure sector, infrastructure investments have a powerful multiplier effect as they enhance accessibility and facilitate trade, improve mobility, generate greater employment opportunities, and boost overall economic productivity. In transport sector, we have a Government of India supported line of credit to EBIT of $100 million, where 282 buses and spare parts have been supplied to Burkina Faso. These buses are used by various universities in Burkina Faso and Sotraco SA. Another example is the design and construction of 97.63 kilometer railway line between Tema and Pakadan with railheads in Ghana, with railheads at both the ends in Ghana, which has been financed by Exim Bank under its buyer's credit under NEIA facility. The amount of credit here was US $447 million. And this is a part of multimodal transport network and expected to provide impetus to the economy of Ghana by connecting Tema port to the northern regions. We have also provided buyer's credit facility of around $69.75 million to Senegal for supply of vehicles, spares and related services to Dakar Dem Dik, a company promoted by the government of Senegal. These intercity AC buses were introduced for the first time in Senegal. If we move to the sector, a different sector, which is power sector, which again assumes a primary importance because pooling energy resources through regional power grid promises to reduce power cost. If pursued to its full economic potential, regional grids could reduce the annual costs of power system operation and development by US $2 billion per year, about 5% of the total power system costs. Here, an example would be a Government of India supported lines of credit to Government of Cote d'Ivoire of US $30 million and US $24 million, and EBIT of US $40 million. This project for Cote d'Ivoire and Mali electricity transmission line has been executed. The line covers approximately 285 kilometers between Laboa, Bundiali, and Ferke. The project also includes designing and setting up of substations. The entire line passes through a major agricultural belt of Cote d'Ivoire and caters to the power requirement in these areas. It also facilitates an alternative route for power evacuation to Mali and Burkina Faso. The transmission line project has enabled use of clean power and providing power to agriculture. Another example of Exim Bank's buyer's credit under NEIA facility of USD 200 million includes a 225 kV transmission line for Jiginchor Kolda Tambakunda line, along with the extension and rehabilitation of networks in the region. This will provide a socio-economic impetus by increasing agricultural output with the use of modern electric equipment. One more example is a project which is valued at 15.67 million for setting up a 7 megawatt solar PV farm, which was financed under a government supported line of credit to the government of Niger and has already been completed in 2018. This project has helped Niger meet the electricity needs of its rural population, thereby empowering the socio-economic growth of rural areas. Coming to the construction sector, of course, we have very good examples of construction sector in Western African region. The first one I would like to cover is the construction of the National Assembly Building Complex in Gambia, which was financed under the Government of India supported line of credit of US $10 million and US $16.88 million. The assembly complex comprises meeting rooms for VIPs, offices for majority and minority leaders, a hall that can accommodate 400 guests, as well as an auditorium with a capacity of 150 persons. Another example is the seat of the government and presidency in Ghana, which is a landmark and monumental structure in entire West African region. This has been executed under Government of India line of credit to Ghana of US $60 million. This project is a symbol of enhanced Indo-Ghana relationship and true representation of Indian expertise in the construction sector. One more very important example is a Cote d'Ivoire Mahatma Gandhi IT and Biotechnology Park, which was again facilitated under Government of India supported line of credit of US $25.5 million and is a dedicated free trade zone for IT and biotechnology. The project has given Cote d'Ivoire its first DNA lab and computer assembly unit, along with a building to host IT companies, supply and installation of VSAT, and computer networking lab. We have also taken lots of initiatives in the healthcare and the sanitation sector, which continues to be of utmost importance. And the need for amplifying efforts in this direction increased significantly during this pandemic. The supply and installation of equipments for health facilities in Togo was financed under Government of India supported lines of credit of US dollar 250 million to EBIT. Ultrasound scanner and maternity and sterilization equipments were supplied and installed. The project has improved healthcare, made health services affordable, and improved its living conditions. Projects for upgradations of 4 military hospitals in Cote d'Ivoire, again through a Government of India supported line of credit of US dollar 71.7 million, and another project for upgradation and rehabilitation of healthcare systems in Senegal, again through a Government of India supported lines of credit of US dollar 24.5 million are underway. As a partner institution in promoting economic development in Africa, Exim Bank shares its experience in a setting up of institutional infrastructure for enhancing international trade. Besides being associated in the setting up of AfriExim, Exim Bank India undertook an assignment to develop and implement a program on film financing for Nigerian Export-Import Bank. India and Africa share a very special relationship indeed. Today, the global economy is facing a health as well as economic crisis. These testing times certainly pave way for enhancing cooperation to support each other. A stronger India-Africa partnership with specific regional focus could create a new paradigm for South-South cooperation, along with ensuring a more sustainable path to recovery from the pandemic. India's strategy to enhance bilateral trade and investment relations with West Africa would entail an integrated approach comprising inter alia, integrating Africa to the global value chain, strengthening Africa's infrastructure and connectivity, and facilitating trade finance in Africa, among others. West Africa has increasingly emerged as an important partner for India, both as trade partner as well as investment destination. The Agenda 2063, along with the implementation of African Continental Free Trade Area, includes a lot of flagship projects aimed at improving Africa's infrastructure in terms of transport, connectivity, education, technology. India could facilitate the participation of Indian private sectors in such projects. This webinar aims at drawing a roadmap to recovery for West Africa based on an assessment and lessons learned from projects implemented in the region. I hope that all participants will find this webinar useful and interesting. We look forward to our panel speakers sharing their experiences with us in implementing projects in West Africa. And I hope that with the participation of the audience, we could make this webinar more interactive and useful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. You have given us a deep understanding of the Indian project in West Africa with a renewed sense of responsibility being a partner to the West African countries. Now, it's an honor for me to have a privilege to invite His Excellency Mr. Silas Thangal, Ambassador of India to Cote d'Ivoire, concretely accredited to Liberia, from Abidjan for keynote address. His Excellency Mr. Thangal joined Indian Foreign Service in 1996, and before his appointment as Ambassador of India to Cote d'Ivoire, Mr. Thangal served as the Consul General of India in Guangzhou, China. Ambassador Thangal also served in Embassy of India in Yangon, Myanmar, Ministry of External Affairs, New Delhi, and Embassy of India in Hague, Netherlands, looking after India's international interests at the international organizations such as Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons and International Court of Justice. Sir, may I offer you floor, please?
Thank you, Puspesh, for that kind introduction. Good morning and good afternoon, Excellencies, colleagues from West Africa and India. Really good to meet all of you, albeit on this webinar. Thank you, Exim Bank, for arranging this webinar to bring all of us together to discuss how we could work together to enhance and boost our livelihood and our life itself. Dear colleagues, Even during this unprecedented human existential crisis, cooperation, trade, commerce, and friendship must continue to flourish to save our livelihood. No doubt, this has become even more difficult even as we practice social distancing. Nevertheless, technology has provided us this opportunity to virtually connect ourselves, and we must go beyond these webinars to make a difference on the ground. The economic impact of COVID-19 on African economy is not an exception. It is really severe and it is very clear. Governments across the continents have been putting up their best effort to lessen the negative impact. Connecting ourselves virtually to work out what we could do with what we have is going to make a difference. And Africa, a continent of opportunities with young population and a rich natural resources at its disposal, is poised to become a significant growth factor in the global economy. But, however, we must ensure that this growth is driven and shaped by Africans for Africa's aspiration. India's engagement with Africa is unique and can be best defined as a partnership with a spirit of developing together as equals. Our development project that Ms. Harsha has outlined are always demand-driven, based on Africans' priorities, and with no string attached, and is always built on one principle, that is co-ownership and transfer of technology to provide a sense of ownership and achievement to our partner. It is therefore symbiotic in nature and lay great importance on the long-term cooperation to enhance Africa's productivity, diversifying skill and knowledge to unlock the opportunities for Africa. India currently is Africa's fourth largest trading partner and third largest export destination, and our bilateral trade touched about $69 billion in 2019. And as Exim Bank Deputy General Manager outlined, there are a lot of LOC projects across various countries in 41 countries with a total value of about $11 billion, which is about 42% of India LOC projects. Coming to India, Cote d'Ivoire, its bilateral trade has crossed $1 billion in 2019, with a huge scope to improve upon it. India has also extended 6 LOCs to Cote d'Ivoire as elaborated by Exim Bank, which includes Mahatma Gandhi IT and biotechnology and power transmission line, which have been recently completed and put to commercial use. There are also 30 rice mill project, installation of 30 rice mill project, out of which 15 has been completed and 15 are at the various stages of implementation. And also construction and renovation of 4 hospitals, for which DPR is under submission to Government of Cote d'Ivoire for their approval. And few more Indian LOC projects are on the pipeline through Ecowas Bank for investment and development. All this, the above project that has been elaborated may be small in the size, but has the potential to make Cote d'Ivoire and the region much stronger. For example, Mahatma Gandhi IT and Biotechnology Park, where 2 pharmaceutical companies have set up manufacturing facilities, has the potential to be a game changer in drug industry, not only in Cote d'Ivoire, but also in the entire region. In the same way, the DNA lab and the computer assembly plant in the same Mahatma Gandhi Biotechnology Park has the potential to become, to make Cote d'Ivoire much more stronger towards self-reliance. Exim Bank also has been extending buyer's credit facilities as elaborated, and to Cote d'Ivoire, the total amount amounts to $192 million, which includes supply of buses by Tatas and vehicles by Ashok Leyland to enhance the transport system in Cote d'Ivoire, and also $54.4 million to Dangote Cement to set up a cement plant in Abidjan. Besides government-to-government development cooperation, as we mentioned above and elaborated by Exim Bank, many Indian companies, entrepreneurs have been working and contributing to Africa's economy. Several Indian companies have entered into joint venture in Africa. They have the experience, technology, and capital to unlock the Africa's opportunities and create value for host governments. This private investment would be critical in preserving the job and livelihood in Africa, especially during and post-COVID-19. Dear colleagues, by nature, all disasters normally takes away the essence of life from people. But responses to disaster from the government and the private companies often tend to take away human dignity, the most important pillar of life. India and Africa must remember this principle as we work together and seize the opportunity for mutual cooperation. Besides, business is not going to be as usual, but will have to be in a changing environment with a new perspective. That's why this principle is even more important. Keeping this in mind, I would like to say that India and Africa's complementarities, economies, and technology compatibilities present enormous opportunities for cooperation, but I would not be able to cover all the fields, but I would like to mention three most critical areas which I think is important for India, Africa, and has the complementarities between India and Africa. That critical areas are agriculture, healthcare, and IT or digital divides. Agriculture is the most important occupation in Africa, with over 2/3 of the population depending on it directly or indirectly for their livelihood. It provides the bulk of employment and food for rapidly growing population, as well as supplying raw material for agro-based industries. Food security remains one of the most formidable challenges facing African countries. Today, Africa imports food items worth $35 billion in a year, and that is expected to touch $110 billion by 2025. Gentlemen, this is despite the fact that 60% of the arable land uncultivated in the world lies in Africa. To top it up, Africa has a huge working population, which is expected to touch 1 billion by 2030 from 705 million now. The African Development Bank estimates that there is a need for investment of 32 to $40 billion each year for next 10 years to overcome this problem in Africa. However, we understand that there are only $9 billion are available at present, leaving a gap of at least $23 billion. Indeed, To me, vibrant agriculture remains the key to achieve food security and eliminate poverty. This is also a key sector where India and Africa can come together and leverage the complementarities and work to reform critical sectors, that is agriculture, to address the problem, like the problem of low productivity, which could be many regions like small land holding, lack of technology inputs, lack of, the low fertilizer, poor seed quality, lack of mechanization of farm. All this region could be addressed suitably with India and Africa coming together. Let me now briefly touch upon the health sector. India and Africa have fruitful cooperation in the field of health. India has been a source for reliable and quality medicines and vaccines at affordable rates for large part of Africa. The cooperation in the field of health care has contributed significantly towards Africa's effort to achieve the Millennium Development Goal in the area of combating HIV/AIDS, malaria, and other diseases, including to reduce child mortality. COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted the strength of India's healthcare capacities as well as that of pharmaceutical industry. As we speak, India has been providing free medical assistance to many countries, including 25 African countries, to combat this pandemic. More importantly, Indian vaccine manufacturers are likely to be the producer of choice as and when the vaccine emerges from anywhere for this virus. Telemedicine is another major initiative for cooperation in the health sector, with the sole objective of extending the facility for expert consultation by African patients in Indian hospitals. This initiative is even more important and relevant in the present context. Cooperation between India and Africa in the field of healthcare and pharmaceuticals would need to be further intensified and carried forward with greater vigor. Digital divides. Information is a major development resources along with human resources, natural resources, and financial resources. The world is moving rapidly towards knowledge-based economy and information society, driven by developments in information technology application. India and Africa cannot afford to miss this IT revolution. Information technology and telecommunication innovations presents opportunities for leapfrog strategy that could accelerate the development of this continent and India. India is ready and has been working with African countries to bridge these digital divides. In this context, I would like to mention that India has launched the second phase of the Pan-Africa e-network project, that is e-Vidya Bharati and e-Arogya Bharati network project. In short, we call it eBhav, which aims to provide 5 years of free education to thousands of African students and also thousands of doctors, nurses, and paramedics, besides providing free medical consultation by the experts from India. And this work has started during this COVID-19. Many hospitals in India has been providing this webinar-based training on management of COVID-19. So this is another critical and promising field for India-Africa cooperation. I'm glad that many of the projects that Exim Bank has been implementing is in these areas like agriculture and healthcare. Friends, India and Africa partnerships goes beyond strategic concerns and economic benefits. because India's activities in Africa has not been parachuted in the last 10 years or 20 years. It is a relations of centuries, and there are close bonds and cultural ties between India and Africa. And our partnership is poised to achieve more substance towards shared prosperity and security. When I say security, I'm talking about security of food security, lighting securities, as well as financial securities. In fact, food security in the context of India and Africa needs to be accorded very high priority in our development cooperation agenda. With these few words, I would like to say thank you once again and conclude my remarks here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Excellency, for giving comprehensive note on the subject. You touched so many important points in the economic engagement between India and Africa. Thank you so much, Excellency. Excellencies, distinguished panelists and delegates, besides the Government of India supported lines of credit, Exim Bank extends its own commercial lines of credit to various financial institutions and other entities in Africa. Exim Bank has approved a dollar credit line of $4 million to Ecowas Bank for investment and development for acquisition and implementation of core banking solution and other related expenses in order to support their growing business and to facilitate operation of Ecowas Bank. Excellencies, distinguished panelists and delegates, today in this virtual world, let's witness virtual exchange of the dollar credit line agreement. I request Dr. Donkar, President Ecowas Bank for Investment and Development, and Ms. Bangari, Deputy Managing Director, Export-Import Bank of India, to bring the first page of the agreement near to the camera. Dr. Donkar and the DMD ma'am, please. Please, for this ceremony, let's wait, ma'am. Just one more, ma'am, please. Okay, thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much, ma'am. And now I call upon our next speaker. It's a great honor and pleasure to invite Dr. George A. Donkar, President Ecowas Bank for Investment and Development, for his special address. Dr. Donkar has previously Vice President in charge of Finance and Corporate Service and Head of Legal Division Compliance in Ecowas Bank. Dr. Donkar has over 25 years of experience in senior management role in finance, strategic management, marketing, legal, compliance, and administration. Before joining Ecowas Bank for Investment and Development, Dr. Donkar worked with ARB Apex Bank Ghana as head of legal, regulatory, and compliance. He also practiced law in several law firms in Ghana.
Let's take that.
Dr. Donkar, may I request you take the floor, please?
Yeah, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Excellencies.
We can listen to you, Dr. Donkar.
Okay. Excellencies, distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen, participants all over the globe. It's my pleasure this morning to be invited to share with you in this forum the implementation of the various projects that the India government through India Exim Bank has extended to the bank. That is the Ecowas Bank for Investment and Development. Before I commence my presentation, Your Excellencies, permit me to express on behalf of the bank our profound sense of gratitude and unqualified thanks to the government and the people of India through Exim Bank for the various supports that they have extended to the bank, and indeed the whole of West Africa countries. On behalf of the heads of state of the 15 Ecowas member countries, the board of governors comprising the 15 ministers of finance of the 50 member countries, the board of directors, and indeed the entire Ecowas region, we are profoundly grateful to the India government through Exim Bank India. This morning, I present to you the implementation the implementation by India companies in West Africa through the Ecowas Bank for Investment and Development. Before that, let me give you a general overview of Ecowas Bank for Investment and Development. The Ecowas region, comprising the 15 member countries, currently has a total population of 403 million and a combined GDP of 615 million. The Ecowas, that is the Economic Community of West African States, was established in 1975 to promote economic and social integration among the member countries, to also ensure that there's free trade and movement of goods and services, and to also encourage integration within the member countries for accelerating economic development. When the heads of state of the 50 member countries established by decree the Ecowas, they also established the Ecowas Bank for Investment and Development at the same time in 1975. The bank became operational in 1979. It was then the Ecowas Fund for Compensation, Cooperation and Development, popularly known as Ecowas Fund. So from 1979, the fund operated, and in 1999, after 20 years of operation, the heads of states and governments of the 15 Ecowas member countries considered the need to transform the fund into a bank. So the Ecowas Bank for Investment and Development was formally established in 1999. The bank began operations in 2001. And then in 2004, there was a restructuring where the two subsidiaries initially established by the heads of state, namely the Ecowas Regional Development Fund and the Ecowas Regional Investment Bank, were merged into the EBIC Group, which became operational eventually in 2006. The headquarters of the bank, as you may be aware, is in Lomé, Republic of Togo. The mission of the bank is to promote an integrated, inclusive, sustainable, and resilient sub-region through the financing of national and regional development projects and programs. Now, ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, permit me to move on to the the cooperation between the bank and India. Over the years, the government of India through Exim Bank has extended an amount of $1 billion US to support the various sectors of our national economies. And it is important for me at this age again to thank the Indian government for this gesture. Indeed, I do not consider India Exim Bank as only a strategic partner, but indeed a true partner. The first line of credit was signed on the 25th of May, 2006. And then, as we speak now, the total amount extended, as I said, is $1 billion United States dollars. The LOCs are managed by the Exim Bank of India on behalf of the government of India. As we speak today, the Indian government LOC has financed a total project of 39 across the 12 countries in the region, namely Benin, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, the Gambia, Ghana, Guinea, Liberia, Mali, Niger, Senegal, Sierra Leone, and Togo. Also, Exim Bank of India has approved an amount of $4 million today to support the establishment of our IT project at the bank. And we saw this signed today during this important seminar. Now, I will now move on to selected projects from the corporation since we started in 2006. As I've already indicated, a total amount of 1 billion has been put to 39 projects across the various sectors of our economies. But for purposes of our conference this morning, I would like to just mention about 5 critical projects as His Excellency, the Ambassador of India to Cote d'Ivoire, has already mentioned some of them. But these projects are financed directly by the India Exim Bank to our various member countries. There are other financing activities that are done through EBID, and these are the things I'm going to mention about only 5 of them. The first project is the rural electrification in the Gambia, phase 1 and phase 2. The objective of this project was to extend electricity into the rural provinces of the country as a means of stimulating socio-economic development and economic growth. The project cost was $30 million United States dollars, and it was sited at a place called Farafedi Power Station, as you can see on the screen. The government of India, through Exim Bank, extended an amount of 30 million, and this amount has been fully committed. Now, you may ask about the achievement and impact of this project. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this project has provided electricity connection to approximately 61,000 households in 69 towns and villages in the Republic of the Gambia. It has also increased access to social amenities such as school and better delivery at healthcare center within the rural areas of the Gambia. Now, the second project I would like to mention is the regional electricity transmission project in Cote d'Ivoire. The objective of this project is to increase electrical power transmission capacity in the region. It involves the construction and equipment transmission from the north of Cote d'Ivoire towards Burkina Faso and Mali, thereby deepening regional integration. The other objective is the optimization in the use and operations of the increased capacity of 103 megawatts power. Now, the achievement and the impact of this project is that it has contributed to the regional power transmission plan of the Ecowas master plan for the development of regional power generation and transmission infrastructure. The total cost of this project is 70 million, and I'm happy to inform you that this amount has been fully committed. The third project that I would like to mention is the improvement of accessibility of drinkable water in rural areas, a project which was financed in the Republic of Senegal. The amount involved in this project was 16.6 million United States dollars, and I'm delighted to report that the whole amount has been fully committed. The objective of this project was to equip the people of Senegal with 462 dual watering systems compared to 250 planned. And also, the objective is to sustain the project by ensuring good management and increase in capacity with the introduction of the private sector. Again, the project is also aimed at increasing 2,400. The project is aimed at giving population, giving electricity to giving water, drinkable water to 2,400 villages with a population of about 2 million within the community. At the same time, the project was to improve health status, education, and the welfare of women as it has reduced the hours used in searching for water. The next project I would like to talk about is improvement of urban transportation in the Republic of Conakry. Now, the objective of this project was to contribute to improvement of urban transportation within Conakry through the procurement and operation of headed buses. The cost of the project was 8.5 million, and the total amount has been fully committed. In terms of achievement and the impact, I'm happy to note that it has contributed to facilitating the public transportation system in the suburbs of Conakry and in some cities of the country. At the same time, it has recruited about 200 young persons as ticket sellers, technicians, drivers, and others, thereby contributing to employment and the reducing poverty within the community. The last project that I would like to talk about is the improvement of healthcare delivery in rural areas in the Republic of Togo. The objective of this project was to enhance the provision of healthcare to the population. It is also to procure and replace the general equipment and logistical equipment in the existing hospitals, and also to upgrade the medical facilities within the country to become referral centers with the required equipment and personnel. The impact and achievement in respect of this project is that it has contributed to the improvement of healthcare indicators. It has also made an achievement of some of the major tenets of its development goals of poverty reduction and improving accessibility to quality healthcare in accordance with sustainable development goals. The cost of this project was 20.4 million United States dollars, and as we speak now, the total amount has been fully committed. Now, so ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, all these are evidences of the importance that the bank attaches to the government of India and the people of India. Indeed, I consider India government as the leading partner in terms of development in this part of the region. It is our prayer that this collaboration will continue and to be strengthened and deepened in the years ahead of us. We thank you so much, and I pray that the long-lasting relationship between the sub-region, that is Ecowas and India, will not only be sustained, but will be taken and carried to the next level. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, Dr. Donker, for your kind words of appreciation to this partnership between Exim Bank and Ecowas Bank. Ladies and gentlemen, when I spoke with Dr. Donker to seek his availability to join this webinar as one of the panelists, and if he is engaged with prior engagement to nominate someone, Dr. Donker responded to me, Exim Bank is a partner institution to Ecowas Bank for investment and development, and he will not only join this webinar, but also all future events of Exim Bank. Thank you so much, Excellency. We also take note of all the projects you mentioned here and their status. Thank you so much sharing for all this information to our participants. Now I move to our next speaker. It's my pleasure to invite Dr. Philip Pango, Managing Director of Village of Information Technology and Biotechnology, Grand-Bassam, Cote d'Ivoire. This free zone is also known as Mahatma Gandhi and IT Biotechnology Park. If you go 40 kilometers towards east of Abidjan along Gulf of Guinea, there is a historical town called Grand-Bassam, first capital of Cote d'Ivoire. And Dr. Philip is the CEO of this free zone since July 2012 and has been instrumental in attracting investors in ICT, pharmaceuticals, and real estate sectors, touting the fiscal initiative of the free zone of Grand-Bassam. Dr. Pango, floor is yours, please.
Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are on this planet. I hope you can view my presentation. Yeah, I hope I'm trying to share the screen, so I want to make sure all of you can actually see my presentation. Can you? Okay. Hello, can you hear me, everyone?
We can hear you, Dr. Your screen is not.
Okay,
Dr.
show
Pango,
my screen. Okay.
Now try Dr. Pango now.
Yes, I am. Okay.
Yeah, please.
Okay.
We can see your
thanks. Okay, great. So thanks everyone. My name is Philip Pongo. I'm the Managing Director of VITIB. You have probably noticed Mrs. Bangari from Exim Bank and Excellency will talk about the Mahatma Gandhi Technology Park. So that's basically what it is about, and I will use the next 10, 12 minutes to tell you more about this project, which basically connects India and the country of Cote d'Ivoire. Uh, Cote d'Ivoire, in Cote d'Ivoire, I think we have a country that always had some kind of identity crisis. Who are we exactly? For the first 40 years of our history since our independence in 1960, we've been a country with an economy that was essentially based on agriculture. And I have to say that we've done very well with agriculture. I mean, anything grows here, it's like a miracle, but after a couple decades relying almost exclusively on agriculture, as Excellency said, agriculture is the key. It is important. It is important to be self-sufficient when it comes to food and health. But the digital divide is a real reality. I'm using the same words as the Excellence, as the ambassador. We cannot afford to miss the IT revolution. So that's the state of mind our government had back in the year 2000 when they took that decision to build a new free zone that will be dedicated only to technology, innovation, ICT, and biotechnology. And that was back in 2002, approximately. What the government did here, that we secured huge land, 624 hectares of land, as Pushpa said. It's located 15 minutes drive from the capital, from the airport, 30-minute drive from Abidjan, accessible by 6 lanes highway. It will eventually be accessible by train, also accessible by water, because we have lots of lagoons and rivers all around. We are located right on the Atlantic Ocean. So the government secured this place to build its own free zone, and a company was created to actually manage the free zone. The free zone got the name of Mahatma Gandhi. And there's a reason for that, because we think, back in the year 2000, what happens in the world? There's a country called India that all of a sudden becomes the place to be when it comes to information technology, software, programming, and so on and so on. So we didn't think twice. The Cote d'Ivoire went straight to India to request assistance we went straight to India to request assistance to build this dream of having an IT park, the very first IT park in the country. Okay, so that's India brought in experts to help the country actually draft the first business plan of the IT park, and that's the beginning of the story, giving it the name of Mahatma Gandhi, but also a line of credit of 20 million that was signed between both governments to do a number of things, and I will tell you more about that later on. It's a free zone, meaning that companies from Cote d'Ivoire and from abroad and from India who wish to come here will benefit from tax incentives, 0% corporate tax during the first 5 years, no value added tax at all, 0 custom fees, government services are available on the sites, salaries and dividends can be transferred back to the home country, and so on and so on. So the typical free zone tax incentives are available here. As I said, we are located in a city, nice little city, full of history. It's actually a World Heritage Site, and there's a reason for that, because when the French colonized the colony of Cote d'Ivoire, that was back in 1890, they settled in this city of Grand Bassam, and they made it the first capital of the colony. So today you have all these old French architecture that you can visit, that you can walk around. It's like a real life museum. So it's all protected. So that's why the city, that part of the city, the old city, is actually a World UN Heritage Site. And what we're planning to do is, north of that historical and cultural city, we are building a smart city. So it's like we're connecting the past with the future. We don't want to disrupt what the old city is, but we just add a new smart city on top of that. A city where people will be able to work, live, and play, all of that in the same place. Lots of studies have been conducted, by, world-renowned firms, Deloitte, KPMG, and Ernst & Young, to confirm the validity of our business plan and also the architecture. Actually, the whole urban planning of that future smart city has been done by an Indian company. You certainly know the name Shapoorji Pallonji. That's a well-known company back in India. Okay, so all this has been conducted just to make sure we do things right. We have a unique opportunity to build a city from scratch, a smart city dedicated to technology. So we have to do it right. As of today, the IT park has like 40 companies operating on the sites. Some big ones, some small ones, and the newest addition are actually pharma companies. I will tell you more about that later on, because we have 2 Indian pharmaceutical companies. Why do they come here? First, because there is infrastructure, roads, water, electricity, and the tax incentives of the free zone. Also, because of the beauty of the place, it's a nice area. It's a nice smart city that we're trying to build. We're not far from the capital, so fully accessible. And they also come here because from Cote d'Ivoire, it's a very good position to actually distribute your goods and services and your products to neighboring countries that don't have access to the sea. So from Cote d'Ivoire, with the good roads network that we have, you can actually easily send your product to your customers in all West Africa, all over the place. So that's the reason we have all these companies here. The majority are IT companies. We just started getting attention from the pharma companies. Funding. I was very happy when I heard that Dr. Donkor is going to join us, because the contribution of his institution, EBID, has been very important. All the roads, 10 kilometers of roads, water networks, electricity, fiber optics, and so on, have been made possible because of our collaboration, the collaboration of the Ivorian government with BOAD, that's the West Africa Development Bank, and also Ecowas Investment Bank. Okay, so thank you for that. And also the Exim Bank of India, which gave an LOC of 20 million to the government of Cote d'Ivoire. And I will tell you in the next slides what exactly the government did with this Exim Bank line of credit. A telecom lab, so training facility, VSAT Earth station, so 7.5 meter diameter antenna to have direct connection, satellite connections from the IT park with other remote sites. TV production studio, power generator, that was one of the projects, and a data storage. I have to tell you this: many companies or ministers or government agencies, even here in Cote d'Ivoire, don't have the ability to store their data in easily. You won't believe this, but most of the people here actually do backups of their data every night in servers that are located in France or in other Western countries. So this is a project that was funded through the Exim Bank line of credit to test this kind of project and see how it could actually help and support our administration. DNA lab, it's the first human DNA lab in the region, in Cote d'Ivoire, probably the second in the entire West African region, second or third. So that was something that was really, really needed here in the country. And then a computer assembly line that can assemble desktops, laptops, monitors, and so on and so on. And then, last but not least, the new headquarters of VT Besa. We are the company in charge of managing the free zone. So this whole new building was built by an Indian company through the same LOC. 3,000 square meters of open space, inaugurated back in July last year. 5 months later, it was 100% full, and it is still 100% full. In fact, if I had my own personal money, I would certainly build 2 or 3 of those in the area, because people really need this kind of good quality office space in our free zone. The last developments that we have witnessed here is the pharma industry. We have, after 4 or 5 years of operation, I was wondering, well, our IT park is named after Mahatma Gandhi, but where are the Indian companies? There were no Indian manufacturers available on the site. Well, over the past 3 years, we had 2 pharmaceutical companies, and for that reason, we decided to reserve 20 hectares of land dedicated to pharma companies. So if there's any pharma companies, Indian, watching us at this point, this is an invitation for all of you to consider setting up a plant in Cote d'Ivoire, and especially in the Mahatma Gandhi Technology Park. This is a short video showing what the smart city is going to look like when it will be completed. As I said, we're building a smart city from scratch, a place where people can actually live, work, and play. We have access to the lagoon. It includes hotels. It includes housing complex. It includes warehouses for rent and office space and so on. All of that together into one single unified and well-planned city. Gradually, we have transformed ourselves from initially we were a company that was seeking IT companies or biotech companies and try to convince them to operate on our site. But gradually, with this master plan that you're looking at now, we are gradually becoming a real estate promoter, because there's so much to build here. So I spend half of my time running after investors willing to build one of these 16 projects that you can see here. As I said, we have 2 hotels in the planning, 1 big shopping mall, a water park, housing complex, huge residential areas to build. Office space along the highway. This will be, I want to sometimes when I try to joke, I call it our little Dubai. It has to be the high-tech facade of the free zone right on the highway, so high-rise buildings. And we believe there's a strong demand in good quality office space in our area. Yeah, so this is again a call to all real estate investors listening. There's an opportunity to grab here. So finally, my final word would be about COVID-19 in Africa. Of course, when the pandemic started, there was some concerns about what would happen in Africa. But after 3 or 4 months since the virus reached us, I mean, we have to acknowledge that we're doing good so far, and we're doing really good, actually. In Africa, we have the lowest lethality rate, 0.7%, and which is good news. I don't know why exactly. I'm not a scientist in biotech or in virus, but I can say it's a good surprise having such a low lethality rate. Maybe because that's the way in our nature, the way our bodies are built to fight against malaria for the past 100 years. Maybe we have developed some kind of strength against this kind of virus. But of course, Africa is hurt. The economy is hurt, of course, but Africa remains a land of opportunity, as the ambassador said. 500 million internet users and growing and growing and growing, and very young internet users. Everybody has a Facebook account or whatsoever. So, and so many businesses that are not conquered yet. that are waiting for the right person, the right people, like the booming e-commerce opportunities in Africa. You know, the giants in e-commerce in Africa, they don't do 100 million US dollars every year. They do 150 or 200 million dollars every year. So is that kind of opportunity that is available for people out there. And there's definitely space for Indian business owners to come and look, you know, take some risk and get out of India and come to Africa. We are the partner that they can talk to. We are here to help and support you in your venture in Cote d'Ivoire, and especially in the Mahatma Gandhi Free Zone and Information Technology and Biotechnology Park. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pango, for comprehensive information on Mahatma Gandhi IT and biotechnology part. And I'm sure that there are so many Indian companies who are participating this webinar will approach you soon, and they will they will come to you and seeking investment opportunity to know more about the Mahatma Gandhi IT part. Thank you so much, Dr. Pango. Now,
thanks.
As we know, Indian companies are executing public projects as well as private projects in Africa. We have with us Mr. Parthiban Theodore, Senior Vice President and Country Head, Olam International, Cote d'Ivoire and Senegal, based in Abidjan, to share his perspective on how Indian companies are executing private projects for Olam International. Mr. Parthiban Theodore, with over 2 decades of experience in Olam, has set up and managed numerous operations in both export and import value chain. He has also served in various capacities on the board and steering committee of African Cashew Alliance and African Cashew Initiative, which is known as COM Cashew now, since the very creation of 2 organizations. In 2017, Mr. Parthiban Theodore was awarded the title of Chevalier in the Agriculture Order of Merit by the government of Cote d'Ivoire in recognition of his contribution to the agriculture sector. Mr. Theodore, you may like to take the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Pushpesh. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you again for inviting me to be a part of this webinar. It's really an honor. I think between the ambassador and Dr. Pango and also Dr. Donker and Exim, I think there has been a very strong pitch for Africa as an investment destination. And I retain some of the key words like having a symbiotic relationship, unlocking mutual opportunities, collaboration, ecosystem, natural partners. And I think all of these have made what Olam is today. And for those of you who may know Olam, we started in Africa in 1989 as a single product business exporting cashews to India. And since then, Olam has continued to grow its businesses, not just in Africa, but all over the world. And today we deal in over 45 different products. We're present in over 60 countries, and we employ over 80,000 people with a turnover in excess of $30 billion. And during this period, we've also transitioned from being just a trading company to today being a farming company in some subsectors. We are agri, commodity, and food ingredient supply chain managers, end-to-end supply chain managers. We operate more than 170 facilities, food processing facilities, not counting the primary processing facilities. And we continue to innovate across the value chain. And that's probably what makes Olam tick. In less than 30 years, in our chosen commodities, we are among the top 3 players in the globe. And while there are a lot of things that I can talk about what Olam has done differently in the way we've grown our business in Africa and elsewhere and what has enabled us, I want to highlight this one particular aspect, which I think is far more pertinent today than ever before. So we pride ourselves of running a business that is today more and more putting sustainability at the heart of the way we do our business. And what's really different is that we've set out a purpose in 2019 where we said that we want to reimagine global agriculture and food system. And this is with all the current constraints and challenges globally when it comes to food security and the modernization and digitalization that's happening all over the world. And within this, given the fact that we operate in many countries where it's really the smallholder who is the provider, we've identified 3 core outcomes that we want to target. And that's how do we work with farmers so that we create prosperous farmers, we create thriving communities, and eventually we are working towards improving the environment, regenerating the living world. And for the understanding of the development partners who are a key part of how we can do it together, we've identified the material areas and the UN designated sustainable development goals, which these directly impact. So while this might seem like typically what NGO would present, this is fundamentally what drives business for us. We are a strongly commercial business, strongly profit-oriented business, but we try and do everything in a way that we are able to impact these 3 core purposes that we've defined for ourselves. And obviously, none of this is going to be possible as long as we operate just as Olam. All of this is possible only through partnerships. And today I can tell you that globally, every one of our businesses, including the ones we run here in Cote d'Ivoire, we have defined partners as anyone we deal with, directly or indirectly. And we want to partner with all our stakeholders, right from the farm gate all the way up to our customers. So you would see in this just illustration of some of our big partners, but we also have numerous partners at a local level. In Cote d'Ivoire, I joined Olam in 2000, and since 2004, I'm based in Abidjan. And in the last 25 years, I've seen our operations here grow significantly. When I joined, we were only a trading company. Today, we operate 13 different factories in Cote d'Ivoire. We operate across different value chains, and you will see that we are probably one of the very few companies that has a presence across every part of the country. And what's most satisfying is while we built our business in terms of our turnover and profitability, we have a massive impact on the way this country has been growing and the communities have been developing. Today, we have more than 5,000 employees, 13 factories, over 140 locations where we operate from. We directly operate in 2,800 villages. We participate in many education, literacy, and reforestation initiatives across the country. And I think we probably touch over 1.6 million lives on a daily basis today in Cote d'Ivoire. And this continues to grow. And we've always continued to run our businesses with a long-term perspective. We're all familiar that there has been political instability and that safety has been a concern in the past at times. But I think for those of us who have lived here long enough, we can confidently say that while there have been moments of instability, we have always had the confidence that this country wants to grow, is ambitious for growth, is ambitious for development, has been very, very far-sighted in the way they look at planning. And while there have been disturbances, they have been very few and very limited in time. That's why we have not changed our long-term plans or vision in the way we want to grow our businesses in Cote d'Ivoire. So today, across cocoa, coffee, cotton, cashew, rubber, fertilizer, logistics, and several distribution businesses where we supply commodities to local importers, all our businesses continue to see growth. And we've had the privilege over time also in having a lot of partnerships with Indian companies. Olam was founded by Indian origin immigrants. Over time, our shareholding has changed, and today we are a Singaporean company. But we do have a lot of collaboration with India. India remains a very important market, and there are industries like the cashew industry where India is a strategic market and is potentially a country that can still dominate the global trade and global scope for the cashew industry and the way it develops. And being such an important player in so many different aspects, I think India can play a far more impactful role in the way the African industry is developing and how India can leverage that growth for their own benefit. I think the Exim Bank has been doing a phenomenal job, and listening to what the Deputy CEO was talking about, it is very impressive to see the kind of collaboration that Exim Bank is having. And I think in the last 5 years, we've seen a lot of Indian companies doing very impressive work in Cote d'Ivoire. I think the pharma companies that have set up now have really set the trend now. And I want to just share some examples of probably what I believe are approaches that have been winning approaches. And I think one of the key advantages that India today has is its human capital. We have a very vast talent pool, a strong work culture. There is a drive that is there imbibed in every Indian, and that has a strong outcome focus. And I think if you talk to anyone in the region that has worked with Indian companies or Indian partners, they will talk about speed and agility. They talk about skill and know-how. And a lot of people who I've talked to today would like to partner with Indian companies. And for Indian companies, I think some good examples that we have, I can cite some of our projects that we are currently running in Gabon. It's not an Olam company, it's a sister concern to Olam called Arise, in which Olam, the AP Moller Capital, and AFC are partners. And I think the Special Economic Zone project, which they have established in Gabon, is a huge success story about what really works. And in this list of winning approaches, I've tried to outline what really makes a difference. I think in the SEZ, what really made a difference was it was a transformational project, and it was not about selling land on an SEZ or constructing infrastructure and waiting for people to come and invest. What they did differently was they created a complete ecosystem that was favorable. So for an investor to come in, they made it far more easy. The investor had to invest less. The investor had less worries about raw material. The investor had less worries about the administrative paperwork. So everything was accelerated for him. And the developers looked at it as providing an end-to-end solution. So de-risking to the extent possible a new investor's venture in Africa. And I think that has really transformed the Gabon's wood sector in particular. Gabon moved from being a log exporter to now becoming one of the biggest wood processing centers in Africa. And today there are so many Indian companies that have made it big there. You have big brands like even Century Ply, which have invested in Gabon. And today when Arise's SEZ projects are looking at expansion across West Africa, many of these Indian companies are actually beginning to express interest to even extend beyond Gabon and invest even in other sectors in West Africa. So I think some of the approaches that has worked for us as Olam is looking at how do we make it a transformational journey. It's not just about setting up a business, but how do we create an entire ecosystem around it? How do we build capacities? How do we make sure that we have strong partners and we are also able to build strength in our partners? So being a nascent industry in many sectors, it is also incumbent on us to see how do we leverage our own reach in India to be able to build capacities in our partners, whether it is infrastructure, whether it's in talent, skills, competencies, and really making the partners believe that it's a win-win. It's not just about an Indian company coming to set up something and take away profits, but having a consistent long-term view of developing local talent. And I think as our scale grows, I found it very impressive to see the way in which our ambassador here has worked with the Indian community to set up the Chamber of Commerce, to create a stronger identity among the decision makers in Cote d'Ivoire. And I think now it's more and more relevant and important for the Indian businesses to start looking at building that brand, the India brand in Cote d'Ivoire and rest of Africa. And that's where the compliance focus comes in and the focus on sustainability. And again, I think there's very impressive work that's done by some Indian companies here where they've started working with communities, they've started organizing blood donation camps, engaging closer with the government, participating with the government and supporting them in the fight against COVID. I think these are all the right things to do to create a strong bond between the host country and India. And before closing, I don't want to sound too presumptuous, but I just want to share some thoughts and feedback that I have got from Indian investors and Indian companies that we work with. We work with a lot of companies in project management, including Shapoorji Pallonji, which has played a key role in many of our projects. We have a lot of equipment suppliers who supplies equipment for our factories here. So some of the common feedback that we have, which probably the Chamber of Commerce and the Indian Embassy and hopefully other government dignitaries who may be participating on this webinar can consider, is the issue of double taxation. The Exim Bank probably can look into how to incentivize Indian banks so that Indian investors, on the strength of their credit history in India, are able to source funding to come and invest in Africa. To Exim Bank, how to probably increase the processing speed so that from start to end, you're able to crunch the cycle time. And I think Dr. Pango raised a very important point when he talked about the pharma industry and how they're dedicating land for pharma. That's exactly our experience in Gabon, where the wood industry, the SEZ operators actually took a very focused attention on how to make it a strong ecosystem for the wood industry. So similarly, I think how can India and the host countries work closer together to identify specific sectors? It could be food processing sector, cashew processing sector, rice milling sector, the pharma sector, could be the leather sector, and really looking at how to make these competitive. How do we make these more efficient? And then recreate something which is of a regional scale or even a global scale. And then how do we encourage Indian SMEs? I think it's probably easier for companies like Olam or Tata's to come in and set up and run new businesses. But where probably there can be sustainable development, employment creation, and quicker decision making is if we are also able to attract more Indian SMEs to come and invest in Africa. And what kind of support will be required to make it easier for them to come and invest? I think that again is about strengthening the brand India, whether it's about marketing Africa and India or marketing India and Africa, but it's mostly about how do we come closer to collaborate and really look at issue-based problem solving, which is quick. Every businessman wants quick resolution to disputes. He wants transparency. He wants a level playing field. And he wants to know that if he's putting in something, policy is consistent for a longer period of time. But I can tell you that I'm very optimistic about where Africa is headed. I think some numbers were already shared, but broadly it's like Africa together is like the Indian subcontinent, with over 1.2 billion people, over 2.5 trillion GDP, and continuing to grow, and growing at a pace higher than the average global growth. So I'm very optimistic, and I'll be happy to take any questions if there are any specific to what I presented. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Parthiban Theodore. You said you will be happy to take question. I'm seeing so many questions waiting for you. Don't go away. I will come back to you shortly. Now I call upon Mr. Mukul Manish, Regional Manager, North and West Africa, Tata Motors Limited, to share his experience in project implementation by an Indian entity in this part of the world. As we all know, Tata Motors Limited is a global automobile manufacturers of cars, utility vehicles, pickups, trucks, and buses. Tata Motors has operation in India, UK, South Korea, Thailand, South Africa, Indonesia, through its global network of subsidiaries, associate companies, and joint venture, including Jaguar Land Rover in the UK and Tata Devo in South Korea. Mr. Mukul Manish, with nearly 2 decades of experience, assumed the responsibility of regional sales manager for intermediate and light commercial vehicle for the western region of Indian operation, and later joined international business in 2011 as head for Bangladesh business. He launched the Prima range of vehicles and Tata Saathi in Bangladesh during his tenure. he took on the responsibility head of North and West Africa region, and he also assumed additional responsibility of heading the commercial vehicles business of Tata Motors Limited in Asian countries. Mr. Mukul Manish, floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Pushpesh, for the kind introduction. Uh, First of all, am I audible and my screen is visible?
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. So, good morning and good afternoon, bonjour to excellencies from India and West Africa. My dear friends, distinguished panelists, the friends who have joined this webinar. On the outset, I would like to thank Exim Bank for conducting this webinar and for giving us an opportunity to represent our success stories in West Africa. Today, in these challenging times, different parts of the world may be experiencing different kind of challenges. But on a personal level and on a humanitarian level, the challenges are the same. As this has been said, sharing the best practices followed to offset the effects of challenges has become very important and become very necessary. In the next few minutes, I would like to talk about the two projects, mainly two projects, which we have recently finished in the countries of West Africa. So the first project that we would like to talk about would be the Sotra project in Cote d'Ivoire, where we had supplied 500 buses and 62 support vehicles to support the public transportation in the city of Abidjan. So while ideating about this project, we thought about Ecowas region, which with its median age of 25 years is very, very aspiration. I mean, the aspiration in this region is very high. The population there wanted the very good transport facilities, ensure safety to travel to schools, decongest the urban centers of development, ensure safety of passengers, among others. Now we had the experience in India of conducting many of the cities bus infrastructure and transport facilities, and the kind of improvements it had brought to those cities and the commuters of those cities. So it started with the Commonwealth Games 2010 success in Delhi. Post that, so these are few of the pictures, the 3,000 modern urban buses deployed in 2010, and we have had a lot of learning from these experiences. We wanted to take those learnings to West African countries and the aspiring Ecowas region. Now, what were the challenges? There were quite a few challenges. We thought 5 challenges needed immediate attention. And the first one was lack of ready finance within the country, non-availability of skilled technicians. Apart from that, on-ground bus support infrastructure also, to the experience of ours, we felt that those were also some of the challenges which needed to be taken care of. Need for product customization as per the country requirement, and the scarcity of parts. In many of the cases, what used to happen was the parts were supplied with the vehicles, and after 1 year or 1.5 years, 2 years of the running, the operators would think that those parts are useless and not being used, and the parts which were needed were not present in the country. So the first challenge, if we look at the first challenge, that's where the collaboration with Indian Exim Bank helped us. Here, I would take this opportunity actually to thank and acknowledge the support that we got from the Mumbai Indian Exim Bank offices under the leadership of Mrs. Harsha Bangari, Saroj, Ranjan Roy, Pradeep. Everyone helped. And from Abidjan side, Pushpesh also was a great help. Coming to the second challenge, the challenge of skilled technicians. We often felt in the previous contracts and previous projects that we had run in African countries, the availability of the skilled manpower was a challenge. So here we thought of having our own team for not 1 month, not 2 months, and not 3 months, rather for more than 1 year, to be present and to help the local mechanics and local technicians learn the tricks of the maintenance on these buses, which were state-of-the-art buses. So we deputed 16-member team for 2 years in Abidjan, and they trained 150 plus Sotra mechanics. And the result of that we will see at the end when we discuss about the current status of the project. So overcoming the spare parts challenge, in collaboration with Sotra, who were the operators, we planned a very phased supplies of spare parts in the same package, and we have actually ensured that the spare parts availability on the ground is seamless and it's still being supplied, and that's how we have been able to gain an uptime, a very proud uptime of 90% plus at present, even after 3 years of the running of buses. Few of the snaps of our inauguration ceremonies. So in that you can see the pictures of buses and the other pictures. Mr. Noel Tata, who is the MD of our distributor Tata International Limited, and he is also a board member of our Tata Trust, is also seen in the picture. I would like to share one of the video which we had prepared on this project for you all.
Société des Transports Abidjanais, Sotra, the nation's premier public transport company, has 57 years in the business of public transportation. However, the Sotra fleet was insufficient to cope with the present mobility needs of the population. We, at Tata Motors, saw this as an opportunity and partnered with Sotra to strengthen their fleet. Exim Bank of India financed the project. From March 2017, the people of Abidjan have started travelling in the comfort of modern Tata Motors buses.
Nous sommes heureux d'être en Côte d'Ivoire pour participer à ce voyage.
Parce qu'avant, on le comptait aux 600. Mais maintenant que les bus sont arrivés, on a vu que ça nous arrange, ça fait plus d'économies.
Pas au courant, mais je suis content par rapport aux enfants qui souffrent. Vraiment, je suis heureux pour les enfants.
I only hope that it was clearly visible and clearly audible. What is the current status? The current status is 500 buses are helping the citizen of Abidjan seamlessly. Even in this COVID scenario, the buses have helped the people of Abidjan across the city. Desired spare parts are being continuously supplied, which is helping the buses to be at a level of 90% plus uptime. Skilling of local mechanics has helped the local mechanics to gain the necessary knowledge and to improve their employability, even outside Sotra premises. And last but not the least, in 2017, when Francophone Games were organized in Abidjan, our buses helped the athletes to commute within the city of Abidjan. It has definitely helped brand India to go up. So this was as far as the Sotra project in Côte d'Ivoire was concerned. The second project that we would like to talk about is the Senegal Indian Line of Credit project for 548 buses. These are few of the pictures. Is it visible? The next slide. Sorry. So the status of this is we have successfully induced the 548 buses with government of Senegal. The maintenance support is being provided by us. Training and skilling of the drivers and the mechanics in Senegal as well is underway. Now here in the current challenge of COVID pandemic, we are very proud to state here that during during the period of last 2 months, we have been able to train more than 5,000 people related to our operations across globe on web. Apart from that, we have communicated with our partners and with our customers about the to-dos and don'ts in this pandemic. I'll leave you all with a few of the pictures of inauguration ceremony, which was done by the gracious presence of President Mr. Macky Sall in Senegal. So few of the pictures. We take pride in giving the skills, imparting the skills to the drivers, and these are few of the pictures which we had trained the drivers in Senegal in collaboration with Ministry of Transport. Some more pictures. Thank you very much. We would thank Exim Bank, and we would look forward to do more and more projects in the continent of Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mukul Manish. I have a straight question to you before you leave. I got a question on WhatsApp from a participant that he wants to know whether Tata Motors produce bullion or cash van. This participant is in Cote d'Ivoire. He is looking for cash van.
We do produce cash vans. However, it is there are different types of cash vans that we manufacture. So it may be on pickup, it may be on bigger trucks, it may be on LCVs or and things like that. So yes, the answer is yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's more than 1.5 hours, almost 2 hours, and we have more than 150 participants. Many congratulations to actually distinguished panelists to holding these numbers of participants in this virtual world. Let me quickly take a few questions, and I will club my own question with the questions of the participants to avoid the repetitions. Let me change now this order. Let me come back first to Mr. Parthiban Theodore. Mr. Theodore, you rightly mentioned that in Gabon, there is a various Indian company who is putting investment in your SEZ. You are dealing with various Indian company by way of trade. There are various companies who are doing execution, like your port project in Gabon. So basically, you are involved in each type of activities what Indian companies looking for. You are involved in trade, you are involved in project execution, you are involved in investment. So how do you think moving beyond the pandemic and transforming journey, where do you see India-Africa partnership in coming years? And what do you believe will get this partnership there?
Thanks, Pushpesh. Pushpesh, I think from our experience that we've had in Gabon, as well as our own experience here in Cote d'Ivoire with the various processing investments that we are making, I think firstly, we must acknowledge that African countries are more and more recognizing the need for value-added processing. They want local manufacturing. They want more local skill development. And I think that's where the opportunity lies. So instead of looking at opportunities just to invest and exploit an opportunity, I think a good example was even shared by Tata's. So they're looking at coming in, developing local skills, developing a local ecosystem. And that's what I think Indian companies can do probably better than anyone else, because in India, we more or less have similar constraints. We operate in a lot of ambiguity. And that's an experience that we can come in with and probably engage far better. And what we have noticed from experience is as long as we're willing to engage from start to end in a very open, transparent way, local governments are willing to work with what's required for that industry and even set policy which is specific to that industry. So you have seen in Cote d'Ivoire how the cashew industry is developed. There is still a long way to go. There are issues related to pricing which needs to be sorted out. But if you look at cashew processing, the way they have prioritized it and the way they are incentivizing it. So I think this is the right time for Indian companies to start looking for opportunities, but really look at it as an end-to-end operation. It's not just about coming and setting it up and making money from it. It's really about organization building and involving local partners.
Thank you so much, Parthy, for this insight. Now I come to our ambassador, His Excellency Mr. Sailas Thangal. We are talking about so many things, Ambassador sir, here. We are talking about lines of credit. We are talking about buyer's credit. We are talking about overseas investment program. Why don't we talk about India's grant portion? Could you please share one or two example of India's grant in West Africa?
Thank you, Puspesh, for the question. Yes, I may not be able to tell you all the grand project that Government of India has implemented, but the fact is that during the IFS 3, when the Government of India has promised that we will have $10 billion as what you call line of credit, which is of right on the right course. I think we are already commitment of about $6-7 billion on that $10 billion. And also Government of India announced that we will also provide 600 million as a grant, to which I think I don't really know precisely what are the projects and what are the commitments and what are the completed projects and all that. But some of the iconic project that has been done under grant are, like, for example, a $56 million convention center that was inaugurated by our foreign minister and president of Niger, which is Mamadou Issoufou, which is named after, incidentally named after Mahatma Gandhi Convention Center, which is what you call a symbol of India-Africa partnership, and it is a whooping $56 million project. This is one of the iconic grand project that Government of India has implemented. And coming closer to Liberia, like in Liberia also we have help in building one hospital called 14 Military Hospital by donating cash in, to the Liberian government, and the hospital is on the verge of completion, but fortunately or unfortunately the work has stopped, but then it is put to useful utility, because that is the only COVID designated hospital in Liberia, and that 14 military hospital in Liberia is being used as COVID center in at the moment. Besides that, Government of India also gifted 45 Tata buses to Liberian government as a grant, and also 5 fire trucks. Very happy to share with you that when I had gone to Liberia to gifted this 5 fire trucks, the Liberian head of the fire services was telling me and speaking in the public that it was the first time ever after Liberians' independence that they have got 5 brand new fire trucks to their this thing. So kind of like that, and there are so many other small projects like we have built 6 IT parks, which are in South Africa, Egypt, Morocco, Lesotho, Ghana, and Namibia and Tanzania. Also, we have built a Center for Geoinformatic Application in Rural Technology Center in Madagascar. also 7 vocational training centers in various African countries, and also like entrepreneur centers, few of them. But precisely, I wouldn't be able to tell you the entire list of grant project. But yes, there has been a grant project that has been implemented. But COVID-19 having impacted all countries, all economies. I don't know how it is going to pan out, but I think our commitment is there to work with African countries, and I think our more and more cooperation is expected. Besides this cooperation space, there are also not the projects are not implemented rightly in African soil as such, but still then there are a lot of training programs under various programs under IFS program, under ITEC. We have training for doctors. We have training for tailor-made trainings for IT management networkers, for designers, for students, so and also for government servants under various ITEC programs. So these are some of the programs and projects that government of India has decided to share the experience that India has gained with the friendly people and countries of Africa. As I said, India's development model or cooperation model is to have a spirit of development as an equal partner. So these are the projects that we are doing with African countries to share our experiences. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Excellency, for your insight on this India's grant project. Now I request Dr. Donkar. Dr. Donkar, now we are now facing a COVID-19 pandemic, and West African economies, we all know major oil and commodity producers have been severely impacted with this pandemic. How Ecowas, being the most important regional financial institution, is responding to the need of its member countries, and how do you see Africa needs a significant amount of financial resource to attain their SDG, Sustainable Development Goals? Dr. Donkar, please.
As you may be aware, the COVID-19 has impacted almost every economy globally. As a responsible social institution, financial institution, the Ecowas Bank for Investment and Development has extended an amount of $1.5 million to our member countries to help them contain the spread of the pandemic. In addition, we have engaged in a number of our member countries to defer the repayments of their principal and interest in respect of the various facilities we have extended to them. As we speak now, the board has approved a number of these requests to the end of the year, with the hope that they'll be able to manage the little resources they have. Remember that liquidity has become a challenge in almost every phase of human endeavor. And so as a bank, we saw the need to engage these member countries to suspend the payment of their various interests and the principals in respect of various facilities that we have extended to them. In addition, we are also in the process of engaging our bilateral partners and multilateral partners to see the possibility of getting COVID-19 pandemic facility to support the various priority sectors of our economies. We have almost concluded transaction with a very important partner, and these facilities will be very concessional. So we hope that when it is consummated, we'll be able to have a very concessional resource to extend to our member countries, to support the fight against the pandemic. Finally, we have also supplied a number of items to some of these countries, not all the member countries, but the needy countries, in terms of masks, sanitizers, and other items that are required to enforce the fight against the pandemic. We have extended some of these also to some of our member countries. So as a bank, in our own small way, we have contributed significantly to the fight against the pandemic. And Discussions are still ongoing. Thank you very much.
Pushpesh, you're on mute.
Hello. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, Dr. Pango. Hello.
Yes.
Dr. Pango, you helped in creation of several high-tech companies and successful introduction of many products and services in Canada and United States, including digital hearing aids, wireless Bluetooth headphone, ground penetrating radars. How? See, we are okay. We saw the facility available in Mahatma Gandhi IT and Biotechnology Park. But how can Indian firms leverage of investing in ICT and the biotechnology sector in West Africa? Not only let me request you to please make outside from Mahatma Gandhi and IT Biotechnology Park in the entire West Africa. How can Indian company come here and invest in West Africa? And what are the key infrastructure and policy constraint do you see which is restricting them to come here?
Well, first of all, they have to take advantage of the fact that we have a free zone dedicated to ICT. I think we are probably the only, we have a quite unique model to have a free zone that is not your typical industrial free zone. You know, it's a IT, it's a free zone dedicated to technology. So it's a mix of an IT park plus free zone tax incentives. So that's quite unique. And I think they just need the information and to take advantage of these tax incentives. Now, in addition to that, the Ministry of Digital Economy in Cote d'Ivoire is thinking of the possibility to enhance these tax incentives in our free zone. And one possible addition would be to allow all the products that are manufactured, IT products that are manufactured in our free zone, to be distributed even in Cote d'Ivoire, not just to be exported out of the country, but to be distributed in Cote d'Ivoire and still benefit from these tax incentives. That's one possible enhancement in the tax incentives. But generally speaking, as I said, Cote d'Ivoire in Africa is a country where IT is just growing and growing and growing. I'll give you a very good example. Take money transaction through cell phones, mobile money, which has been introduced in Africa and which is very successful. It's even replacing your traditional bank accounts. Every single day in Cote d'Ivoire alone, you have up to 20 million US dollars transactions going only through mobile payments only. Okay, can you believe it? It's phenomenal. So fintech is the future. E-commerce is the future. You have giants like of e-commerce in Africa that are doing like 150 million euros per year. So all these numbers tell me that there's a market here to capture. Indian companies should get in touch with us. Get in touch with we are here to connect them with local players too, because there is a local ICT community that is capable of helping them get access to our markets, not only in Cote d'Ivoire but in all West Africa.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pango, for this insight. Now I request if this question maybe to all, if you may like to respond. Let me first go to Dr. Pango, to you. What is the role of MSMEs, you think, driving the economic recovery and policy response to support them, and whether India can play any role in this, holding in this regard?
Well, there was a point in time where people thought that our free zone and our IT park is only there for big companies, and we had some trouble actually attracting startups, and small companies. So that's how we took the decision to actually open. We had an incubator startups. So today, I think we understand that, and I think our countries understand that all depend, no matter what the size of the company, there's everybody has a role to play. It all starts with an idea, and then that transforms into a project, and then into a small enterprise, and then gradually evolves into the big companies. So it's a matter of having the right ecosystem, to use a word that Pratibha Theodore used, the right ecosystem where everybody, depending on where they are at their stage, everybody plays their part. That's what it is that is typically implemented in all IT parks in the world. You have incubators, you have small companies using the same restaurants and the same facilities as the big ones, and gradually, collectively, something happens. You have I have an idea, you have the money. I have an idea, you have the infrastructure, you have the manufacturing capacity. So let's work together, and then gradually build the country. That's how YouTube started. That's how all the major, and I'm pretty sure all the major Indian companies, that's how it all started. So yes, to your question, everybody has a role to play.
Mr. Parthiban Theodore, your input in this, because you are dealing with several farmers here, small farmers, and dealing with MSMEs. How do you think can India hold and play a role in economic recovery in West Africa in terms of MSME sector?
Yeah, I share Dr. Pango's views. I think there's a place for every size company here. And I think particularly the MSMEs and SMEs can play a vital role. And I think for a lot of the African countries also, it becomes even more important now to encourage development of MSMEs and SMEs, because they're going to be focusing on local consumption and regional consumption, which is as important as international trade. And during these COVID times, we are realizing it even more, that local consumption is what's going to sustain economies. And India, I think, is really well placed for really coming up with these kind of partnerships where Indian SMEs can come and tie up with potential local players to create local SMEs. And I think those really can be win-win solutions. The local partner brings in local know-how and ability to handle local environment, and the Indian SMEs come in with technical know-how and access to raw material. I think we've had some good partnerships that we see where raw material gets imported from India and final product is being made here, and vice versa in the wood sector where raw material goes from here and finished product is being made in India. So SMEs, MSMEs, in my view, is really a way to go.
Thank you so much, Mr. Parthiban Theodore. Dr. Donkor, you may like to add something on MSMEs economic cooperation, and what is the Ecowas Bank strategy towards them?
Yes, I'll say that, as a regional bank, we also have a role to play in this exercise. We need to collaborate with the SMEs and make sure that we address the various infrastructure deficit within the various sectors of our economies. As we speak now, the bank sometimes extends lines of credit to our various partners to be able to extend to SMEs in order to address some of the infrastructure gaps that they have within their communities. And I think that the bank also will play a key role in this exercise. Very, very critical.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Donkor. My last question to Mr. Mukul Manish. What are the factors, according to you, holding back Indian investment? Why don't you come up and invest in West Africa here more? Why you are restricting only I'm just as a representative of Indian company, I'm seeking your views.
Thank you, Pushpesh. So it's a very good question, and the answer actually lies in some of the additions to previous views which have been expressed on MSMEs developments. So whenever you think of any industry or any big industry, there are two things which MSMEs actually bring to the table. Number one, the employment, definitely at a grassroots level. And number two, they are supposed to be the building block for any big industry or any big infrastructure that you may plan to bring in any of the countries. Having said that, I would say that wherever we get that support in the country, it's easier for us to invest, and it's easier for us to actually be present there. And these are the things that we would look for, and we would look for the opportunities to expand our footprints in all the countries in Africa, in particular West Africa.
Thank you so much, Mr. Thank you so much, Mr. Manish. We have various questions on in our question section where the people are asking the LOC pre-qualification when the tenders are coming. I request them please send their queries offline to our Exim Bank's email ID, eximloc@eximbankindia.in or ccg@eximbankindia.in to know all these things. I acknowledge the presence of His Excellency Mr. G.V. Srinivas, Indian Ambassador to Senegal, concurrently accredited to Gambia, Guinea-Bissau, Cape Verde. Ambassador Srinivas has concern on the not meeting criteria of Indian content 75% in road contract civil project. Yes, Ambassador sir, that's as per India Development Economic Assistance Scheme. There is a minimum 75 value of contracts covered under the loans must be sourced from India. A relaxation is available that's required prior approval, and for that we will approach you to give the approval for that 10% relaxation. Thank you so much for your presence, Ambassador Srinivas. Let me, on behalf of Export-Import Bank of India, express my most sincere and profound thanks to the Honorable Excellencies, distinguished speakers, having spared their valuable time to grace the occasion and consenting to be the panelists for this webinar. Despite your hectic schedule, the topic of this webinar, assessment of project implementation by Indian companies in West Africa, has become more pertinent right now as the COVID-19 has infected severe negative impacts on both economies in Africa and India. And economic recovery can be achieved by facilitating investment in critical sectors like agriculture, agro-processing, manufacturing, IT, healthcare, power, renewable energy, transport. This will ensure value addition to the immense resource produced by the West African region, generate employment for the young population, and also build infrastructure essential for industrialization and intra-regional trade. Though West Africa region, we all know it's a combination of 15 countries with immense opportunity, but at the same time, project-specific approach issue will also need to be analyzed for better implementation. In the interest time, we are unable to take all questions, but most of the question related to, I sum up actually when I was asking the question, I was taking cue from the question which I got from my question answer section from the participants. But in the interest of time, I mean, it's a time, I would say it's 3 hours, 2.5 hours. But I would like to thank once again all the participants, all my distinguished panelists for making this webinar so engaging and holding all the participants in this virtual room. Still, we have more than 100 participants logged in. Once again, thank you to you all for all the participation in today's webinar. See you next time. À la prochaine fois.
Thank you to all, and stay safe.
Thank you all. Thank you.